I feel like I'm recording at least one of these episodes a month. It's starting to crack me up. This article that was submitted to me by one of our faithful listeners, I appreciate it, is called The Slow, Painful Death of Agile and Jira. Agile has stopped being Agile, so it's time for Agile to go and take Jira with it. Okay. I'm hoping that it'll be snarky, but it starts out with stop me if you've heard this one before. Software development cycles are taking longer and longer. Technology teams are growing larger and larger. Managing development requires more and more apps. Fewer and fewer people are actually doing the coding for shorter and shorter periods of time, with less and less progress between constant checkpoints. So now I have a question. When did Agile stop being an optional methodology for developing certain types of software and suddenly become the organization-wide religion? We're all members of the cult of Jira now. How did this happen and how do we free ourselves? Okay, let's pause there. There are a couple of things that I see here that stand out to me as, shall I say, red flags. um, the first thing right out of the gate is Agile. So here's a quiz. When was the first time that someone mentioned working with greater business agility in a business setting? When was the first time that someone said that we should strive to work with greater business agility to achieve our end goals? When was the last time that was said? Does anybody know? Or the first time that was said? I'll give you a hint. It's not in the 1990s. It's not in the 1980s. It's not in the 1970s. It's 1961 in a book called Industrial Dynamics by Jay Forrester. Why do I bring that up? Because Agile or business agility has been around since 1961. So for those of you who are keeping track, it's a lot longer than what most people think. Where am I going with this? Every time someone says Agile is dead, I think that their way of doing Agile has fallen by the wayside. It doesn't necessarily mean that Agile itself is dead. It just means that people are trying to reinvent the way that they're getting work done. And as David Allen would say, getting things done, author of Getting Things Done, as time progresses, we strive to find new and innovative ways, creative ways to get things done. And that's exactly what's happening here. This is not a big surprise to me, right? But I think they're trying to call out that Agile did something wrong. So I'm going to visit their question. Their question is, where did Agile go wrong? And they go on to say, so to quickly explain Agile, I go right to Wikipedia because it's all I need. I'll simply paraphrase one line. Agile, for those not yet converted to the cult, is a methodology developed over the early 2000s as an alternative to documentation-driven heavyweight software development processes. Yes, that's right. Agile was supposed to be an alternative to existing cumbersome project management methodologies of the sort that were evolving into credit-earning factories like PMP and even Lean Six Sigma. So what happened? I can't speak for everyone because my own personal professional experience with Agile has always been at the periphery. I knew it was there. I acknowledged it. I let it do its thing. And I kept it from making a mess, like that one developer in every tech team's corner who has a lot of potential but needs a lot of coaching. But my experience plays into the decline of Agile neatly time-wise. At Automated Insights circa 2010 to 2017, I never bothered with it. Honestly, and at the risk of bragging, we were doing generative AI before generative AI, even before the natural language generation, and we're moving too fast for even Agile to keep up with what we're doing. We probably would have been benefited from leaning into the methodology side of it a little more. And to be fair, we wound up making a lot of unnecessary mistakes at that speed without a framework. Okay, let's stop there. Yes, congratulations. I've been doing AI that long as well, right? But it doesn't mean that because you're doing AI and you're moving at a breakneck pace that Agile wasn't good for you. And I think that this article is deceptive in a sense that it is pointing out that Agile is what's crippling or stopping people from being able to do things in an effective way. And I wholeheartedly disagree. I feel like some of the things that you've pointed out, I don't see those as problems inside of organizations. And I think a big piece of this is people grab onto one piece of Agile. And they say, small team size. Nope, we can't do that. Our teams are growing and growing. So that means we can't be Agile. It's just, when you grab onto one thing, that's like me saying, I don't like vegetables because, I don't prefer green beans. So that means I don't like any vegetables. It's just, come on. You got to give it a little bit of a flavor check before you go in and just say everything's broken, right? This is the throw the baby out with the bathwater approach. But a lot of folks I routinely interface with, including leadership on business and tech side and startups and Fortune 500 companies alike, are done or close to done with Agile. The main reasoning for abandoning it across the board is tech bloat. So what is tech bloat? I got to read this. Tech bloat is every tech company's enemy, and it's a danger even to those companies who aren't strictly defined as tech companies, but have a software development arm either in-house or contracted out. Tech bloat is not tech debt, which is a term for intelligence in any development process that results in a buildup of problems that crop up later, although tech bloat definitely produces tech debt. So tech bloat is a precursor to tech debt, but tech bloat's not tech debt, but all tech bloat becomes tech debt. Boy, can you take us down a more confusing path? This is, I think I'm going to bow out right about here in this article. I can't. I'm not even halfway through. But what I can tell you is this article is pointing out things like talking to customers repeatedly without becoming an expert on customer behavior, constant assessment and reassessment of deadlines and delivery dates, brutal reluctance to start processes early until every detail is documented and thought out, creeping motivation to begin with the easiest things, not the riskiest things. This is screaming to me that there are a lot of other things wrong that are causing you to not be able to implement Agile properly. My high recommendation here is for you to go back and study the Agile 12-step program that I documented, or the 7 Deadly Sins of Technical Debt, both of which were published in the early 2000s. And I think what you're going to see is that tech bloat, I'm doing air quotes here, can be avoided if you do just a few simple things correctly to begin with. And I feel like you're not doing enough of the guesswork up front, because Agile doesn't have to be heavyweight up front, but you do have to have some level of preparation. And I feel like that's where the gap is. You're not limiting WIP, you're not controlling team size, you're not controlling lines of communication, and you're not doing anything to prevent or shutter tech bloat / tech debt. And I think that if you look at all of these different things combined, that's what's leading you to have all the things that you're talking about: the increased documentation, more deadlines and more frequent checkpoints, constant second guessing, micromanaging. All of those are results of people failing to do other things. So I'm going to say that again. All of those are failure of doing other things. If you can get to the point where you understand your customer implicitly, where you know what their desires are, where you get the information you need up front, and you identify your persona, and you do proper initiation and discovery, that's going to help you way before you get to delivery. So I will agree with one part of your article. The only part of this article that I agree with is that if you wait until delivery to focus all your attention on Agile, yeah, you're setting yourself up for failure. But if you're doing proper initiate and discover, you shouldn't be having these problems. That's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have a topic you want us to discuss, learn more at AgileDad.com. We would love to hear from you. As always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.